My name's Phoebe Schecter from the NFL, and you are watching the SportsHeads.
Hi, I'm Simon Millen. Welcome to the SportsHeads. This is a very special edition. We're in the offices of the NFL UK in London to talk to Phoebe Schecter, who has a story to tell because she has been an intern for the Buffalo Bills. Phoebe, welcome to the SportsHeads.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm delighted to have you here. You had a 3-month internship with the Bills. Tell me a little bit about that.
So my internship with the Bills was through their training camp, and it was amazing. It was something that I got involved in through an internship called the Bill Walsh Diversity Fellowship. It's basically an online application that I had been recommended to do via basically my mentor, Samantha Rappaport. And previously I'd been to something called the Women's World Games, and we had this big careers forum where we had some incredible people come, such as Kim Pegula, who's one of the co-owners of the Bills. We had Scott Pioli, assistant GM of the Falcons. So some really just inspiring people that we were able to network with then. And off of that, I had to basically choose 5 different teams, and I went with, well, it ended up being between the Bills and the Falcons, and I went with the Bills, and it was the best decision I think I've ever made.
And of course, you play over here as well because you're the coach of the Staffordshire Surge, the men's team. You also play as a linebacker as well.
Yes, indeed.
And you are a part of the women's Great British team as well. You coach them and you play for them as well. Yeah,
so I've been really lucky. I moved to this country 5 years ago. Despite my American accent, I am part British.
From Connecticut?
Yes, exactly. I'm from Connecticut. My mom's British, grew up in Stoke, so that's how I've got the dual nationality. And basically right after moving here, I found out about American football via social media, and it's completely changed my life. So I went to trials, and I haven't looked back since, and I've just been so fortunate to be able to captain the Great Britain Women's, to be able to play and coach and have all these opportunities that I found myself in.
So how did you get onto the internship in the first place? Because I mean, a lot of people look at it and sort of say, well, you're jumping above other people that that may have been coaching the game for a long time. How do you actually feel about that?
Yeah, so that's definitely a topic that comes up a lot. And the best way that I can think about it is it's a bit like chutes and ladders, right? So men tend to grow up from an early age, either being American or even over here, you grow up with American football in your life, whether you've been playing as a kid, your parents were coaches, you watch it on TV. And actually, at what point, how, as a female or a minority, are you able to make up for those years of experiences that these men have had? And when you get these opportunities like internships or the Bill Walsh Diversity Fellowship I was a part of, that kind of just gives you a concentrated version of years of that experience. I'll never obviously have the same what it's like in the locker room and that some of those pregame talks, but there's nothing saying that I can't do my best to get as much knowledge under my belt as possible.
And to be fair, being a little unfair to you in that respect, because you had to be looked at by the coaches at Buffalo, and Sean McDermott had to actually sign off on this because he actually wanted you, because you'd earned the right to do that. So it might sort of sound a little belittling you to sort of say you've jumped above everybody, but you actually have earned the right because you're a good coach in your own right.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing. It's putting the right people in the position to succeed, and looking at most of the people that have actually allowed me the opportunities that I've had or put me forward for them. A lot of them have been men, and for me, I like to think I sit on the shoulders of greatness, because there's some amazing people out there that are looking to kind of take away these inequalities and injustices, and at some point that chain has to break in terms of what's the norm. Is it norm just to be a white male coaching American football, no matter what level? There's some amazing coaches out there, not just female or whatever minority might be. There's great coaches in the UK, great coaches throughout Europe that just deserve a chance to prove themselves, and I think that's what's so important to keep in mind.
And the good thing is, I mean, we said you were groundbreaking. Your middle name probably is groundbreaking. We don't know this, but the likes of Rex Ryan has been instrumental in bringing forward women and minorities. I mean, he had Catherine Smith down in the New York Jets. She started as she was a sort of an intern, looked at tape, looked at game film, started putting in plays. Rex took her under a wing, and she did really well there in Buffalo. And he also in the Jets, and then he took her to Buffalo as well. And of course, Buffalo have been very, very good as well, but they've been giving women chances.
Yeah, absolutely. Catherine Smith is a great idol for a lot of people. I think she was really the first woman to have a full-time coaching career, but also she kind of broke that chain in terms of little girls now see that she was able to be a coach, and they think, well, I can do that. Yeah. I can one day be a coach. I can be a football player. I can be whatever it is that I want to be. And that's huge, because when you start giving people this image of someone that looks like them, that gives them hope, and that's what everyone deserves to have.
Sure. With yourself, I mean, it's it's a very sort of male-orientated show in effect. How difficult was it for you to break the taboos with that? How did you sort of find any sort of sexism or put downs or anything like that? How difficult was it for you to actually coach men that had played the game? Did you find any sort of kickback on that?
Well, I think the first thing to get comfortable with is being the only female in the room. That's just something you have to get used to. And one day that will change, absolutely. When it came to coaching either in with the Bills or in the college I was at Div 1 college after that, what was really key is actually showing the players that I play American football, or for me, tackling is one of my favorite elements of the sport.
Aren't you?
Yeah, so we showed them some clips of me playing American football, some clips of me playing this crazy sport called kabaddi.
You're not as intimidating as you think you might be.
I know, you know what? Off the field, I am fine. Butter wouldn't melt.
When the lions come.
Yeah, exactly. On the field, I see red. So.
What sort of sparked your interest in the game in the first place? Because there are a lot of people out there, girls coming through college, university, or whatever, want to play the game, don't have the opportunity. But what sort of sparked you?
Again, a lot of it was looking for making, a way to make friends essentially and get a bit of American culture. But once you actually play the sport, I've played a lot of sports in my life, and there's no sport like American football in terms of the team element of it. They become your family. And what's so cool is like everyone is a cog in a machine in American football, and everyone has to keep turning in order for the whole process to work. So if one person doesn't do their job, that goes everything, and I just think the fact that it's for any shape, size, gender, it doesn't matter. It's so inclusive. I think that's a huge element of it. But a lot of it for me is being able to get on the field and just hit people, right?
Okay.
It's my form of stress relief, of meditation, however you want to think of it, where you don't have to think about the rest of the world. All you can just play sports.
You're scaring me now. That's fine. What advice would you give to someone who actually wants to go into coaching?
I would say try and get involved in your local team. If you can get on an internship in a high school, a college, anything like that. Just realize the depth that it takes to be a coach, because it's 24/7 in American football. Yeah. You may only have 10, 11 games a year, but it is so full on. I think that element of it is something you need to be fully aware of before you get involved, because you need to make sure that you're dedicated in order for your players to believe in you as well.
Okay. And as far as playing the game goes, we go to the States occasionally and we see lots of park football, soccer, what we call it, lots of women playing soccer. America is great with women and soccer. With American football itself, I mean, it doesn't seem to have as many teams as we would have necessarily in the UK. I mean, there seems to be a lot of opportunities in the UK for people to play.
Yeah, you know what? It's been fantastic. And even if you look at some of the ratings of the men and women percentages watching the sport over here, you're basically 50-50, which is huge. The men in this country have been so supportive of the women playing. Our national team has been really, really successful, currently sitting at first in Europe essentially and fourth in the world. So there's lots of opportunities for women to get involved, whether that be in a playing, coaching, officiating, administrative role, whatever it is that you're interested in, you can get involved with it. And everyone's really keen to help support each other, which is so important.
Exactly. Going back to Buffalo, I mean, you worked with Gil Bird, who was a two-time Pro Bowl cornerback for the Chargers a long time ago. He's now at Illinois. He's gone back with Lovie Smith. But what did you learn with Gil? Because you worked quite closely with him, with DBs.
Yeah, so he was amazing. I mean, not just talking about the fundamentals, but his actual emphasis on people was huge. You know, he's got some brilliant quotes, and he's just so good about trying to support people, because at that level you need to do whatever it is you can to help them be as successful as possible. It's just his knowledge base and his ability to read the game, read people is huge. But yeah, and even now still, he's really supportive of me. Anytime I need anything, he's always there to answer any questions I have, whether it be scheme or anything going on.
So what was a typical day for you over there? Because it's a long day for a start, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
It's brilliant. So Buffalo is one of the few teams that actually goes away for training camp still. So we would stay over. Everyone stayed on campus in Rochester, New York. So we would start the day usually about 6:30 a.m. I would start prepping everything for the meetings. We'd have a big team meeting at 7:30 where Coach McDermott would talk to the team. Off of that, we would then go into positional meetings. And then from there at 10:45-ish, we would go for our big team practice. And that's where you see everyone kind of come and watch. All the spectators can come and watch that. Then we would break down the film and watch film from the practice. Then we would have another little kind of preparation period to get ready for our walkthroughs and our classroom sessions. So we'd go into special team classroom, more positional classrooms. Then by then, it was probably already time to go to our walkthroughs. We'd have that, we'd break down film, watch that, and then by the end of it, it was probably about 11:30 by the time you walk upstairs. Honestly,
Still not enough hours in the day.
That's exactly what I thought, because no matter how much you got done, you just never felt like you had enough hours at all. I was like, where does the time go?
What was your most enjoyable experience there? What did you learn from it the most?
Oh gosh, a lot that I was trying to learn was how can I incorporate this back in the UK. So for me, a lot of that is planning, like your practice plans, how to track a entire session, progression wise, fundamentals. Coach McDermott has a big emphasis on fundamentals, and I love that, especially at the elite level, how much he's pushing that. And I think that's really vital for all teams of any level to understand, because sometimes if you're not in it, you look at what the NFL does and you think, oh, they never practice fundamentals. They just know it. They're amazing athletes, which they are, but actually you still have to practice, because you have to do something every day in order to get better at it.
Okay. The Bills obviously showed a great deal of improvement last year. That's obviously down to you.
Obviously.
They let go of a lot of big name players. I mean, did you see it happening that they were going to be such a good team when you went there? Because it was the start of the season you went there, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question. You know, even when I was there, they released Sammy Watkins and Ron Darby,
Robert Woods.
Yeah, exactly. So these are guys that are big names, and you know, Darby going off with the Eagles and them making it to the Super Bowl was huge. I think you can tell from what Coach McDermott was trying to put across. So his big emphasis was on horizontal leadership, which essentially is how do you get everyone on the same page and pushing for the same thing. And I think that's really key. I loved going to the meetings and seeing what one person or one coach would take from, say, your meeting and put it into the next meeting. And they were always just supporting each other. So in terms of what he was trying to promote overall, you could see that it has the becomings of something amazing. And for them to even make it to the playoffs after 17 years of a dry spell.
Like I said, it was all down to you.
I mean, I'd love to take credit, but no, they're hardworking. There's a lot of heart in that team. You know, a lot of those guys have been playing there for a while now.
But it is hard to bring a team together in respect that everyone's got a different contract. Everyone's looking to make as much money as they possibly can at the end of the day for themselves. So it must have been a huge job for a coach as young as Sean to go and do that.
Yeah, and he's done a brilliant job. And I thought that was something really unique about the NFL, to really be in it and see, you're asking these players to be a family essentially, but the next minute one of them could be gone.
Yeah.
So it's a really strange vibe, I guess, in that sense. But they pulled through and they support each other, and most importantly, they supported and believed in what Coach McDermott was trying to put, and it worked for him.
Exactly, he's going to carry it. So what's going to happen now for Phoebe Schecter? What's the plan for you? Illinois with Jill?
Wouldn't that be amazing? So another college internship,
Right.
which is so huge, and I'm so looking forward to.
Where's that?
So that will be released at some point.
I'll find out off air.
And after that, I just need to keep coaching and improving myself.
Right.
I'm so fortunate to be able to get a job with the NFL now.
Yep.
I mean, I've been volunteering with them for about 4 years now. So helping growing the sport over in the UK is something that I'm a big, big believer in. So, you know, giving back to the country that's given me so much is really my key goal. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay, great. And what's sort of the biggest challenge for women in the UK to get into this game?
I'd say it's not necessarily a challenge that we have much control over, but for women to get involved, I think we still, even at the national level, have to pay to play.
Right.
And that's a big deal,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
is, yeah.
especially when you've got women of all ages who have families, you know, they've got full-time jobs. And I think that's something that hopefully one day we can change and
Funding,
make it a bit
basically.
more professional. But you know what, you get women out there, they will give you 100%, and they're just so excited to play this sport. So once you play American football and you get a taste of it, it becomes an addiction. So I'm not worried about the retention rate there.
Okay, great. So what would be your tips for youngsters coming into this game that maybe never played the game before? How would you approach it, especially females?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely just go for it. You know, see if there's a team near you. There's BAFA, B-A-F-A is where we have all of our club information, so you can find a team that's closest to you, but don't be afraid. You know, that's the greatest thing about American football for me, obviously besides for giving me this kind of social like family, is the way that it's made me feel. I have become so much more confident and empowered through playing this sport that I hope that every female can feel the way that it makes me feel. So if you can just get involved, whether that be non-contact with flag American football or full contact, just go, and everyone will make you feel happy. They'll help you understand the sport. You don't have to know anything about American football to play it, because everyone's learning the rules along the way. It's one of those crazy sports where the more you know, the less it feels like you know.
Wonderful. Phoebe Schecter. Coach Phoebe Schecter, I should say. Thank you. Wish you well. Thanks for joining us on the SportsHeads. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.